Starting with how confidence is destroyed.
Comparing yourself to someone you've never met, you're lying there scrolling through curated highlight reels, watching someone half your age become a millionaire with a jawline carved by the gods. You don't know their story, their failures, their breakdowns, but your brain doesn't care. It just whispers, why aren't you like that? Here's the thing. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's trailer. You're seeing the outcome, not the cost. You don't know what they sacrificed, what they hate about their life, or if they're even happy. You just know they have abs and followers, and now your morning is ruined. You're not even chasing your own goals anymore. You're trying to outperform a stranger's fantasy. No wonder you feel stuck. Real confidence comes when you stop asking, why not me? And start asking, what do I actually want?
Gossiping because it's easier than improving.
Let's call it what it is. Insecurity disguised as entertainment. When you gossip, you're not climbing higher. You're just pulling others down, so it feels like you're taller. And sure, it might feel good for a second. You get the laugh, the nod, the attention, but here's what's really happening underneath. You're training your brain to focus on other people's flaws instead of your own potential. You're broadcasting a message loud and clear. I'm not confident enough to stand out, so I'll tear down someone who is. You're killing trust. Because the people laughing with you, they know you'll talk about them the second they leave the room. You're wasting energy that could have been spent getting better, learning a skill, facing a fear, showing up as the version of yourself you actually want to be.
Being passive-aggressive instead of honest. Instead of saying, that upset me, you say, no, it's fine. I just think it's funny how, instead of I'd rather not, you say, sure, whatever you want. But your tone is sharp enough to draw blood. Here's the problem. When you're passive-aggressive, you're telling the world, I don't believe my voice will be heard. So I'll whisper with venom instead. You might feel clever in the moment, but deep down you know you didn't actually stand up for yourself. You danced around the truth instead of walking through it. And every time you do that, you chip away at your own self-respect. You teach yourself that you can't handle real conflict, that honesty is unsafe, that tension must be twisted, not faced. Letting fear decide your behavior. It sneaks in through tiny choices, not speaking up in the meeting, not texting first, not wearing what you actually want to wear, saying it's fine when it's not, just to avoid conflict. Fear disguises itself as logic. It whispers, be smart, play it safe, stay small.
And if you listen long enough, you forget that you are supposed to be bold. Here's the trap. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you teach your brain a lesson. My fear is right. I'm not ready. I'm not enough. And that lesson compounds. It doesn't just affect today's moment. It reshapes your identity. You start thinking of yourself as someone who hesitates, who avoids, who almost. Saying yes when you wanted to say no. Every time you do this, your confidence takes a hit. Not all at once, but quietly, subtly, like erosion. And one day, you wake up and don't recognize your own spine. Because when you say yes just to avoid conflict, to be liked, or to keep the peace, you're not keeping the peace. You're paying for it with your energy, your time, and your self-respect. You train yourself to believe that your wants don't matter, that your boundaries are flexible, that everyone else's comfort is more important than your truth. Confidence isn't just walking tall. It's the ability to have your own back, to trust your no, to know that you can disappoint others without abandoning yourself, breaking your own word. Every time you say, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow. I'll start that project this week. I'm done texting them. And then you don't follow through, you're not just flaking. You're proving to your brain you can't be trusted. That's how confidence crumbles. Not with some big embarrassing moment, but in all the tiny, invisible ones where you said you'd show up and didn't. It's about consistency. If you always break your own word, your self-trust erodes, and suddenly you're second-guessing everything. You're not shy. You're not broken. You're just used to letting yourself down. So flip it. Start keeping tiny promises to yourself like they're sacred. Drink the water. Write the page. Send the email.
And now, how confidence is built.
Finishing a task you didn't feel like doing. Confidence isn't some lightning bolt that strikes you out of nowhere. It's not reserved for the loudest person in the room or the one with the perfect smile. Confidence is built in the quiet moments, in the small, almost invisible victories, like finishing a task you didn't feel like doing. Because, let's be honest, most of the time, you don't feel like doing it. The gym, that assignment, cleaning your room, making that difficult phone call. It's easier to scroll, postpone, to say, I'll do it later. And your brain, it feeds you excuses, logical sounding, airtight little stories about why now isn't the right time. But here's the truth. Every time you ignore that voice and do the thing anyway, you're laying a brick in the foundation of who you are.
Making eye contact instead of looking away. Most people flinch, glance away, stare at their shoes like their self-worth is hidden in the laces.
But when you hold eye contact, not in a creepy serial killer way, but steady and human, you're saying, I see you. I'm not shrinking. I belong here. It's not a staring contest, though. You're not trying to dominate. It's about presence. That moment where you could could look away, but you don't, that's the moment you level up. It rewires your brain. Every time you stay with the discomfort, it gets easier to believe you can handle what's in front of you. Whether it's during a first date, a job interview, or a stare down with your own insecurities in the mirror, eye contact is confidence in action. It says you're not apologizing for existing.
Standing up straight, even when you're tired. It's that moment when your body wants to slump, your mind wants to check out, and everything feels heavier than it should, but you don't fold. You stand up straight anyway. This is a move that sends signals before you speak. To others, I respect myself enough to take up space. To yourself, we're still in this, let's go. Posture is primal. Before we had words, we had stance. The brain still reads slouching as retreat and uprightness as ready. So even when you're exhausted, heartbroken, overthinking everything, that straight spine is a quiet rebellion. It says, I'm still here. I still choose to show up. I don't need perfect energy to have presence.
Keeping a promise you made to yourself. No crowd. No applause, no like button, just you. And the version of you that said, I'm going to do this. It could be small, waking up when you said you would, finishing the run you wanted to quit halfway through, saying no when it would have been easier to people please. Or it could be massive, leaving the relationship that was draining you, launching the thing you've been scared to start for years, staring down your demons and saying, not today. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're telling your brain one thing. I trust me. That is the foundation of unshakable confidence. Because the loudest voice in your head is your own. And when it's no longer whispering, you never follow through, but instead says, we do hard things now, you become someone you don't have to second guess.
Speaking your mind in a room where you could stay silent, when the moment shows up, the awkward pause, the heavy silence, the topic no one wants to touch, and instead of shrinking, you step in and speak up. This is confidence at its most raw and human, choosing truth over comfort, clarity over blending in, making peace with the fact that some people might disagree and saying it anyway. It's not about being right. It's about being real. Because every time you do it, every time you choose voice over silence, you build a muscle. The muscle of self-trust. I can handle being seen. The muscle of emotional risk. I don't need everyone to nod. The muscle of presence. I belong in this room. My thoughts count. Dressing well, even if no one's watching. Sometimes confidence starts in front of a mirror. Just you, deciding you're worth the effort. Dressing well, even when you have nowhere to be, is one of the quietest rebellions against insecurity. Because it says, I don't need an occasion to value myself. I don't need validation to take up space. I'm not dressing for others. I'm dressing as the person I'm becoming. It's a daily declaration that you give a damn even when the world doesn't seem to. It turns your reflection into a reminder instead of a recovery project. You walk differently. You speak cleaner. It compounds day after day, outfit after outfit, until the line between faking it and becoming it disappears completely.